Brought to you by the Every Dollar app. Start budgeting for free today.
Hi, so I'm calling. I'm curious. So me and my girlfriend are going to be moving in together, and I'm curious whether I should be covering the bills or not.
No.
All right. Are you ready for some context?
I was waiting on Dave on that one. That's why I got out in front.
What's the context? Yeah.
So I'm from Salt Lake City. She's from Salt Lake City. I work out of state. So I'm moving out of state to Cleveland, Ohio. She's going to be moving with me. And her work is very clientele-based, so she will have practically zero business out there. And I make more than enough to provide for both of us. And so
how old is she?
Not necessarily that I need to. Sorry, say that again?
How old is she?
We are both 19 years old.
What does she do for a living?
Cosmetology. Does hair.
Okay. All right. So she's going to give up her life and follow you, and you're not even going to marry her.
I will shortly.
Well, go ahead.
Within like a year.
Go ahead then. If you were her dad, you'd tell her not to do this.
Yeah. I mean,
or maybe not.
I don't know. I think I'm a good guy.
I didn't think you're a bad guy. I just said marry the girl. Put a ring on it, buddy. That's all I said. Because I'm telling you, she's in danger. Not physically, not emotionally. You're not a bad guy. But she is very vulnerable economically because she's become dependent on a 19-year-old that she's not married to in another city where she has no connections and no family, and she has no income. She's vulnerable. And it's not wise for her. And that vulnerability, that anxiety that goes with that is going to affect your relationship. And you guys don't see that. You're just young and in love, and you think this is all going to work as long as the sex is good. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I mean... So,
why a year from now? Hold on, let's play out your thing. You told Dave, well, we're going to a year from now. So what's going to change between now and then for you to marry her instead of now, a year from now? What changes?
So I just work in the summer months, and so I'm waiting to get back from working for the year and being able to actually have open time, where then I could devote majority of my energy and majority of what I need to emotionally to a relationship.
This is a disaster.
Hey, listen, if you're going to do that, you know, that's when you get married. And moving in together is, you would have to pay the bills because she has no money, is the answer to your original question, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, and she could get a basic job, but...
Yeah, but I mean, she can't exist. She can't subsist if she follows this along without you. So she's trapped. That's what I'm telling you. And economically, and your brain knows the math, and your body stores the stress from your brain, and she can't keep that from happening. It's going to affect your relationship negatively. So if you're going to go do this, just, call the preacher and say, hey, we want to get married before we move over there. It will change the environment because then she knows you're legally bound to care for her. She's legally bound to care for you because you're legally don't own anything separately anymore because you're now what we call married. And so that's going to be healthier for her emotionally, for your relationship long term, and it will change everything. And if you're not able to commit to that emotionally, you should not put her in this state of vulnerability because you're a good guy and you wouldn't do that.
I'm going to take another tack here real quick. I think that you need to tell her it's a really bad idea and you've seen the light and you guys need to figure out if you really do want to spend the rest of your life together and not play house. I would actually go and she stays back home. You guys figure out if you can do a long distance relationship before you do this nonsense. If I was this girl's father, I'd be in your grill, man. That may not be popular, but I really don't care. I think this is crazy. I'd want you to prove to me as this girl's father that you're willing to be mature and put you two in front of your desire. I think that's what I would do and see if she's willing to do it. See if you're willing to do the long distance relationship. And while I'm ranting, when it's time, if you guys prove that you can do this, she can come visit for a little bit and get a job. I'm pretty sure they have plenty of hairdressers that need somebody to cut hair in Cleveland.
Yeah.
So this is not this all-in scenario, Dave. I don't like it. I think it's foolish.
Yeah. Joe, you called and asked, and we're being pretty brutal with you and messing up your plan. But that's, what we're thinking like here is like her old ugly uncle, because I pretty much qualify for all of that.
I think I'm handsome, but
I said me, but yeah. But I'm saying, what would you do? And you said I wouldn't. When I asked you, would you want your daughter to do this? You said no, I wouldn't. So you need to think about how you answered that, because you answered that honestly.
Yeah.
And I do think you're a good guy. I'm not questioning your integrity or your intent or anything. I'm not saying you're a substandard person in any way. But there's implications to what you're doing that you don't know about or haven't thought through. And then I'll just stop a second and say that for the rest of you out there, because today in America, more couples live together not married than married, statistically. Now, for those of you that grew up with Leave It to Beaver in an alternative universe, that's shocking to you. More people live together not married than married. The downside is that the data is now in. We see the data, and we track the data. It's our world. And the data says that married couples far exceed unmarried couples living together in their financial goals and wealth building. Far exceed. The researchers call it the marriage advantage. And it's probably deeper than just combining of the two incomes and that kind of a thing. Our theory is, and we've not been able to research this and prove it, but you can just listen with me and think about it, guys. But our theory is simply this, that when both of you are permanently promised to each other's future with a contract called marriage, it causes a differentiation in your behaviors. Versus I've got to always have an out. I've got to always have an exit. I got to always have what happens if he moves out? What happens if he leaves me with these two kids? What happens if, all those kinds of things. And that can happen in marriage. It's called divorce, but you get this thing called child support, alimony, and half the assets. You don't get that when you're cohabitating. Even with a cohabitation contract, they don't stand up in most states to the level that marriage does. So we can discuss how it gets there, but the data is undeniable. Married couples far exceed in wealth building to unmarried couples living together. Far exceed. And you can just look at it through the wealth building lens, or you can look at it through other lenses, but that's the one that I've got data on. Create your free every dollar budget today, the simplest way to budget for your life.